Hey, everybody, thanks for joining me again for another episode. Today is going to be really interesting because I am going to be having a discussion with a fellow light worker. Her name is Neri, and she has a brand called Circles of Energy Seasons of Change. She's a Reiki master, psychic medium, healer, and she's into sacred geometry, among other things. Like me, she's been able to communicate with the spiritual realm since she was a child. And so we have a lot of similarities in common. Join us today as we discuss the topic of something that people ask me about quite often, which is how do you tell the difference between a spirit and a ghost, and what's good, what's bad, and what that looks like. So, join us as we discuss this topic and dive into it a little further today. Hello, everybody. This is Amanda Keys, and I'm the mind, body, and soul behind Keys to Wellness. Today, I'm having a mystical, paranormal conversation with Neri.
Hi, guys. How are you today?
So, if you haven't been on my channel before, I'm an intuitive medium, Reiki master, and a yoga teacher. Since I was at a young age, I've been able to communicate with the spiritual realm, and so has Neri. And so that's why we connected. We have a lot of similarities, and we see a lot of the same things. We both go to houses and we help people do spiritual cleansing of entities that no longer belong in their home. For me, I've also been in two paranormal groups over the years, doing investigations all over Ontario, even investigating the CNE grounds and Queen's Park in Toronto. Not sure if there's anything you want to add, Mary, about yourself.
Well, I'm Neri, and I'm with Circles of Energy Seasons of Change. Amanda and I have so many similarities growing up as children and being able to see, talk, and interact with the spirit realm. And we both had to go through similar struggles as children and as in our teenagers to really focus in on what we really were. And we both struggled in the same way, where we had to suppress our natural abilities to just be in this reality where we just did not fit in. But we're both very much spiritual. We're both yoga teachers, and we are very much friends.
Yes.
And we like to teach and share our messages so that other people can go ahead and teach and share their messages as well.
Yeah. And I'm sure, we're not the only people feeling this way or, have been through some of these things. And it's great for us to sort of reach out. And so the topic we wanted to discuss today, which I get a lot of questions about, I'm sure you do too. Well, what are the different types of ghosts? Or maybe they don't even know there's different types of, spiritual beings, if you want to call it, energetic beings. And how can you even tell what the difference is? So, I am coming out with a video on how you can begin to connect to that energy, but how do you really know what you're dealing with? So I thought first we'd start with ghosts.
Absolutely. That is the basic structure of spirituality.
Yes. Yeah. And so for me, I would say that, it's a sensing, a feeling, a knowing. And for me, there are even different types of ghosts. And so for me, I categorize a ghost different from a spirit. A ghost is, someone who has passed on and hasn't been able to cross to the other realm, whatever you would like to call it. A lot of people, call it heaven, the other side, whatever name is, right for you. And so they get stuck in this earthly realm. And, for us, we try to help them cross over. Not all of them are bad. And, there is good and bad, because there will always be light and dark in this world and also in the universe. So try to think of an example of, normally I can tell that it's a ghost because a lot of times they look different. So they may show signs of how they passed away. I feel like when it's spirit, they have this different glow and feeling from them, where many times it's like, say if someone had passed away and they had drowned, that they would come forward and that's how they would look like to me. They might have, the different, sounds gruesome, the different color skin, or, things that happen to bodies when, someone drowns. I don't know if there's what you'd like to put your input about that.
Well, for me, and I know that for you, you get the visual sense of how they are physically. For me, it's like a sense of knowing. And eventually I start getting visuals of, or they send me visuals of how they passed on. So for me, it's a sense of knowing, and the ghost basically telepathically sends me messages of how it occurred. And sometimes I will get messages of why they're still here, because they want to do something else, or they're unwilling to pass on, or something else. And then that's when and you as well, we kind of sit down and try and figure out and let them know it's time to go. It's time to go ahead and follow along in the next step.
Yeah. And I will get sometimes the knowing, and once I kind of physically, that's one of the ways that I'll notice that, they haven't crossed, but it's how they start speaking telepathically as well. So they'll speak in symbols and images. A lot of times they show me this visual, like a movie playing out of how they actually.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's when we kind of play counselors or therapists, if you were to call it, to the dead, and get them to cross over. Sometimes I might call in angels, or call in their loved ones to even come forward to help them.
Yeah, and even spirit guides as well.
Yeah, exactly. Poltergeists.
We both got the giggly face.
What do you have to say?
That is another branch of the spiritual realm. Entirely. They, you know what? They started off as people just like us, and for some reason or another, they are very angry. Poltergeists have been known to work really well with energy and frequency waves, and that is how they're able to move and wreak havoc in houses, and they instill fear in most households and even buildings and warehouses, and they're practically everywhere. Everywhere they actually claim.
Yeah.
As there.
And the one thing I want to say too is that, ghosts and spirit can also move things, but I feel like with poltergeist, it's, not in your best interest.
Yeah, they do it for malicious purposes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I would, say about that. But, you might smell really disgusting smells. Sometimes people smell like like rotten eggs, or
Yeah.
just weird smells altogether. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are some of the things I
As creepy as can be, I've actually smelt like rotten flesh as
yeah,
well too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Didn't know if I wanted to go there, but I
I
did. So
know. It's being real.
yeah.
The next part, which we deal with a lot, this is kind of like like a big part of our job, because the one thing I want to say is, like, people sometimes who say they're light workers, like, no, only the light, I can only be working with light, only with angels. But really, we are sort of like these spiritual warriors, and being a light worker doesn't mean that you just deal with these beautiful things, because there are bad and there are good. This is also in spirit world. And so it's good
It's
to
everywhere.
understand.
You're gonna
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt, but you're gonna see light and dark everywhere you go, infinitely.
yeah, yeah. And you need to understand, like, it's kind of like, keep your friends close but your enemies closer. So, like, understanding what happens, understanding these negative entities, understanding how they can affect humans, that they
Yeah.
actually affect their mood and the way their actions, and drain their energy and can cause havoc on them. And they come in so many different forms. So the one that I've seen mostly since I was younger, that really latch on to people, I like people, this is just a nickname, but the night hag, I like to call them, and I'm sure there's
Yeah.
different names for
You
them.
like to call them the night hag. I since we grew apart, I had to learn how to name them as well. You like to call them night hags. I like to call them like dream wreaths.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like some people may have this happen to them, and I'm sure doctors or whatever will say, oh, this is something else. But no, like, I've seen it. And yes, there is sleep paralysis, but these spirits are, I've seen it many, many times. There's not just one time, where the person is waking up in the middle of the night terrified. They can't move. They can either see a shadow in the corner, they may see something that looks like a witch, they may feel their chest, like someone sitting on their chest, and maybe they see like eyes, maybe red eyes, different things like that. And they start to feel every day, no matter how much they sleep, they're always tired, they're extremely depressed. They might even start to get like strange ideas in their head. And
And they'll replay the dreams, the nightmares that they've recounted through the night that has fed the dream wreath or the night hag, because they feed off of the nightmares that they give the people. That's how they feed off of people. It feeds them so they can go ahead and do it the next day and the next day and the next day. And when you realize it, you're so sick mentally and physically that you know that there's something wrong.
yeah, and a lot of times they like to hang out in bathrooms. They like to hang out in closets, like these weird places. That's normally what I find. And I get so many people, and as soon as I start giving them, like, okay, did this happen, this happened, this happened, they're like, oh my God. I've had people cry because they just think they're crazy, but someone else sees it, someone else understands it. Like, I'm sure,
Yeah.
been on, investigations where people like, thank God, like, they saw someone
Yeah.
understand you.
Yeah. It's you know what? Dream wreaths I encounter more than I encounter poltergeists, and
Yeah,
more than I encounter even ghosts
yeah,
actually. When people come in for a cleansing, they usually got some kind of dream wreath on them, or a night hag as you call.
yeah, yeah. And this is the thing too, like, other people, you may have named them something else. This is just something I think that, along the way, there isn't, like, a guide, that instruction guide that
We
comes.
don't, like, there's no guide for us. We didn't grow up knowing this stuff. We grew up trying to figure it out ourselves.
Yeah.
Because there was no teacher for us, and there was no guide, and there was no guru for what we went through.
Yeah, and I am lucky. I did end up, meeting some people along the way who are like me, and so, even you and I was able to uh, talk about this stuff and be like, oh yeah, I have seen this, or they've seen that, and I haven't, and kind of like having these little, angels along the way, maybe being able
Yeah,
to talk to
yeah.
and
Like,
understand.
spirit will give you what you need at the time that you need it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and they always say, when what is the saying again? When you need the teacher, they appear. I forget what the exact saying. I'm sorry, but like,
We'll go with that. I'm good with that.
yeah, okay, good. So there's other entities that we've come upon, but the main thing I feel like is they're looking to prey upon vulnerable. When you're kind of at a low peak, they want to swoop in. You might be calling them on in ways as well, and sometimes they may sit in our bodies as attachments. And I see this so often, and I know you do too, where it's in the body. A lot of times I feel like they're sitting in the solar plexus, and I know in shamanism they call it the bowl, and there's techniques where you can clear that. But oftentimes when we're, I'm with a client doing like a Reiki session or energy session, and you see that within them, it's kind of holding that person back and feeding off their fear, feeding off their anger, and kind of pushing those emotions forward as well out of them.
And they also will feed off of psychic people as well. So they'll feed off of their energy. It's like a nice little dessert instead of like a normal person.
Yes.
So for those psychic people or light workers or energy workers that have not developed quite yet, they as sad as it may seem, they can be falling victim to like a night wreath for them to prey upon.
Yeah, for sure. And we could go into like these entities all day.
Yeah. Let's move on, because we can branch out like a tree here.
So spirit, my favorite spirit. So okay, spirit can come and go as they please. They have crossed over. They do something called a life review. And the thing is, when someone passes away, they might not show up right away, because the life review can, seem like 5 minutes to them when it's been like 10 years to us, just as a quick comparison. So, with spirit, they come through. You just get this like calm, beautiful feeling. They're very level-headed. There's not these grudges and these hard feelings, and it's just this total different experience. Like, I know that some people be like, oh, well, so and so I knew before they died wouldn't do this or wouldn't do that. But once you pass, none of that matters anymore.
No, it doesn't. There's no judgment, no ego, no physicality that they can claim, basically. A good example of what you're stating is that my grandfather, when he passed, he was almost 100 years old.
Wow.
And so his physical body was very tired, very done.
Yeah.
And I said, no problem. I know I'm going to see him again. He'll come visit, no problem. It took him almost a year to actually physically be able to cross over and come visit, because his energy was so strained that he had to like recharge, basically. I knew it was going to take some time, but eventually he did, and there was such a difference to him. such a peacefulness, such a mind-boggling. He actually said, I didn't know it was like this. And I'm like, well, I did.
Yeah.
But it was so different from the hardcore man that he was before.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention is that, you know, your family members do not want to scare the crap out of you if they start revealing themselves to you. Sometimes it might just start with dreams, you know, that's the easiest way for them to get to you, because while you're sleeping, you know, you can travel in dreams as spirit, and you can talk to your guides and talk to your loved ones. But a lot of times they come through not as when they died, but when they're much younger. You know, they might want to show you what they look like at a certain age. A lot of times I find they may come through at the age of like 35. But you know,
I've had people come to me as their child self.
Yes.
Like 4 or 5 years old. And when they passed over, they were like 30 or 40.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they basically choose what physicality they want to present to us.
Yes. And so something that's going to make us feel very comfortable.
Exactly. Yes.
I don't know if that's all I really like at this point to talk about spirit exactly.
Oh, and I'm sorry. Can I do that? I've had also another a child, a baby that passed over, come to me as a 23-year-old woman.
Wow.
So even though her soul didn't make it all the way through to this reality, her soul in the spirit realm was already an adult, right? And that's what she chose to be seen as.
Yes. Yeah. And I see that too. And you know, the other thing about spirit, that could be a whole nother video, is when they're coming into this earth to be birthed as a human. And a lot of times their spirit is in the mother's aura and around them. So don't be surprised when you're having these dreams, you start seeing children and things like that could be the spirit of your child that's trying to come into this world.
Yes, absolutely.
Spirit guides and animals. I love that too.
My you know what? Yours is spirit. Mine is that. Mine is spirit guides and animals.
Yeah. I love that too. I love that so much. And so like spirit guides, that's a whole nother video too. Okay. So
I can't wait. I
know, we should do that. So there's so many different types of spirit guides. There's, you know, ascended masters. There's people who are your relatives. There's people like, you know, spirits from past lives that you have been in. There's, you know, one of the things that people don't realize, your higher self can be your guide as well. And they can be from any era, and they are just always loving you, trying to guide you. Sometimes they give you that tough love, and they'll put this like, you know,
back in the head, and all of a sudden you're like, why does my head hurt?
Yeah. And you know, they also give you these amazing ideas. A lot of times it's through dreams as well, for people who aren't constantly trying to communicate with them. But they're one of the first people, I feel like, well, spirit, that you want to start communicating with to help them, will help you to open your abilities. And you know, this is someone that you've kind of signed an agreement with, if you want to say that, before you come to Earth. And you're not only just being guided by them, but they are being guided by you, because they're also learning just in the other world.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I have to make note that, you know, learning to find or relate or bond to your spirit guide is easy as making friends, you know. Put in the effort, put in the amount of time that you would normally in this reality put in to make friends. You don't know how, I tell this story all the time. Half the time my husband or my children will come in to the room and I'm talking away and there's actually nobody here, and they will turn around and say, "Yep, okay, no problem," and close the door, and I'm like, see, now they think I'm crazy.
Oh man, that's why we
it's a matter of just making friends and making that telepathic or whatever kind of bond that you create with your spirit guides to actually make them work for you and you work for them.
Yeah, exactly. And you can start simply by meditation. I say this all the time. I can't say it enough. Like, this is not something new. This is ancient knowledge that meditation helps you connect when you're starting. And basically what I'm doing when I'm connecting is like meditating while I am totally awake, like my eyes are open, and or I like to describe it as dreaming while you're awake. And them sending you messages and things like that, and starting to work with them by asking them for different symbols. So maybe when you see this symbol in your mind, it's telling you that they are here, or different symbols that mean something that may come up, like
or even a picture, a mental picture.
Yeah, for sure. And you can have like guides come and go, so they can change. I feel like you really have this main one, but as you go and you're kind of elevating in your life and you need different type of knowledge, that's when these different spirit guides come in, because they're for that moment in time to help you with that specific thing.
The more friends that you gather, the better your life is going to be, because you're going to have a clan or a tribe or your own crew that can lead you, guide you, and inform you into what is necessary throughout your life.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember going on a spiritual health cleansing once, and I went in and the client was like, "Oh, I see your spiritual posse is here," because she was kind of intuitive too, and she sees them all come in behind me. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, you brought your crew.
Yeah, brought my crew. So animal guides. Now, this is something like, I feel like some people feel this is a touchy subject, but this has been in many different cultures and people call it different things, but really spirit is spirit. And since I was little, I remember I think really the first spirit animal I saw was my dog, who passed away. And it was so weird, because I remember seeing it and talking to it, turning back and being like, "Wait a second, my dog died." And then I looked back and it was gone. You know? So but you have guides like this as well, and it's something that you kind of embody, and they will help you along your path as well, much like the spirit guides in your life that are more, I guess you can.
And I've had like animal spirit guides have always walked side by side with humans from the beginning of time. We've always meant to have that animal aspect of ourselves that will manifest in some kind of way through understanding and knowledge as well too. We in each other are animals as well, humanity, right? So having animal spirit guides is very much natural. And very much needed, actually, because some people actually repel when they actually need it the most, right? I've had people that will have, and some people that actually know about spirit guides will actually have them like the totems, like the bear or the eagle or the wolf, right? And those are the most common that have been put out there because of the Native Americans and their guidelines of knowledge and spirituality. But I've seen people with squirrels.
It's funny that you bring that up, because there's someone I do know that has a squirrel.
Exactly, right? And I've seen people with sloths.
Yes.
And I've seen people with I've seen people with horses and ostriches and
And they're so disappointed when you're like, yeah, your guy's a frog.
yeah. They're like, I don't want that, and I'm like, well, that's what you need. I'm sorry, I did warn you. You probably wouldn't like it, but that's exactly what you need.
And that's the thing, is energy is energy. It's just,
exactly.
It's like, it's just showing us kind of this form to tell us what kind of energy that is needed.
Exactly. So, or the information, or what type of natural characteristic does that animal have that is actually inside of you for some reason or another that you display, you know?
Yeah.
It's part of you.
Yeah. Angels. So angels are, it's funny because
angelic.
I know. I honestly kept thinking like, okay, this is what some people might think. So I don't have any ordained religion. I did grow up, with my little kids' Bible, and like, I believe in Jesus. I believe in a God, source.
I believe in My Little Ponies.
Yeah, oh God. But, when people would, the archangels and everything, I almost didn't believe it at first, because growing up, we're taught to believe that, we're individuals and we can be in one place at a time. And so when I was younger, like, growing up, I don't know if this was my teenage or my early 20s, but like, that's stupid. Like, the archangel's going to be with you, but this person and this person and this person. But you realize that energy can be anywhere all at once. So when you're calling on that energy, don't be afraid to do that. And you'll know it's different. If you're seeing it physically with your eyes, that's how I started actually. I saw these little white golden orbs, lights around me, and I was like, what is this? I actually got my eyes checked from an optometrist, and they were like, no, everything's fine. I'm like, okay.
That's what we go through when we we think that we see something, but then our reality thinks that there's might be something wrong with us. But there's not.
Yes. Give me a sec.
I do want to say that we all live multidimensionally. Just because we're in this reality does not mean that we're in different realities at the same time. And that is basically for most angelic realms as well too, and archangelic realms, I couldn't say that. As well too. Their energy expands infinitely. And so just calling upon one strand of that infinite angelic energy will be able to come down, and they will be able to come down infinitely for other beings at the same time.
Yes. And extremely powerful energy that, you can use if you're an energetic healer, to also asking them to help you cleansing a space, helping you to get rid of certain things that don't belong in your space, and or just praying and bringing that energy into you that maybe you need at that time. And I do talk, I've done a post before on my social media about how to pray. I feel like a lot of people these days aren't, it's almost like we've been taught to beg for what we want, which means we don't have it. And it almost goes into that darker side, where, when you pray, it should be like giving gratitude. Every time I do a prayer before I do a cleansing or any energy work, I am giving gratitude, like, thank you so much for giving me this divine knowledge. Thank you so much for, giving me this healing right now. Whatever, thank you so much for giving me this abundance, whatever that is. And I think that's
the understanding of love, that's a big thing to instill in your, in any prayer, basically.
Yeah.
I found that making my own prayer and writing it out was the best for me. It might not be the best for other people, and that's all right. That's perfectly fine. Not everyone works the same way, but writing my own has benefited. I cannot speak today. Benefited me the most, due to where I could structure what I needed out of my prayer daily.
Yeah. And, you know, thinking back to religion, because a lot of people, you know, get into that, is that there have been many people throughout the ages who have come to earth with healing and wisdom and miracles and all of these different things. And the one thing they all had in common was the message of love. And I think it doesn't matter what religion you are, love is extremely important. And it doesn't mean you're all, like I said, love and light all the time. You know, it's you know, letting go of toxic thoughts.
Exactly. It's something that I do want to mention is that you will never find a way to battle the darkness if you don't know about the darkness.
Yeah.
And that's going back a little bit ways back to where we were before. Yeah. That if you're all light, you will never know what dark is. And how are you going to get rid of the dark if you don't know what it is? Mm-hmm. So, and if you're all about the dark, well, you know, you'll never see the light.
Yeah, dangerous place to be.
It's best to travel the middle line where you know a little bit about the dark and you know a little bit about the light, and then just balance yourself out. Because being a light worker means that you have to know, you have to have the knowledge of what is dark to be able to understand and work your way into the light.
Yeah, exactly. I totally believe that. Now, trying to think of anything else. So we could, you know, get weird here. But
what not?
But we could leave it to another episode because it would definitely be really long. But you know, we start to get into other beings that people think are, you know, aren't real, are just in fairy tales, myths, you know, whatever. But there are interdimensional beings. I know that you really wanted to kind of talk about that just a little bit.
I will take up the notch on this one. Let's imagine that the earth is a book. If you open that book and find one page in that book, that page is just this reality that we all live in right now. Some people might call it the 3D reality. Some people might call it, you know, the real reality. Some people might call it God knows what. But there are hundreds of different pages in that book. And each one of those pages is a different reality or a different dimension. And each different dimension, there's a whole different life that has been acquainted and lived just like we have. Just like how humanity in this reality has lived. Each and every different dimension may have the Elven realm, or the Djinn realm, or the infinite can be. But there are different types of realities and dimensions, and they all have something that is brought into this reality as well. Because once you close that book, guess what, folks? It's all Earth. Mm-hmm. All of it is Earth. Whether you cross over to a different dimension or a different reality, or use a portal, or find your way into a forest and you see different little creatures or gnomes or whatever you might want to see, and fairies, yeah, there's always some type of reality into a myth. And myths are stories that are told upon generation from some kind of family that have seen this reality or this dimension or different types. But yes, different dimensions are real, just like this dimension is.
Yeah. And some of the beings from these dimensions decide to unite with us and work with us, just like spirit guides. So I think that's one thing for people to understand. If they start seeing something and they're like, oh my God, I am nuts. I'm going to the loony bin right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. To understand there's more than animals and humans.
And just like light and dark, not all of them are good.
Yeah.
And not all of them are bad, you know? So it's just having and using that internal gut instinct that you have. Make sure that you know how you feel about something. If something repulses you, please don't go towards it. Because that's your body telling you, no, that's bad. Yeah. That is no good.
Yeah, and it's about understanding that too. So, as you're going through, you don't want to, if you're not prepared, it can be scary just kind of diving into connecting with spirit. And that's something I can't stress enough, because you could be connecting with something that you're just excited to connect with them, but they're really, they don't have your best interest in mind, and
they can be beautiful looking, the most beautiful light, or the most beautiful person, or the most beautiful entity that you've ever seen in the ether, but they could be completely bad for you.
And that's when you got to use your senses, not just how you're seeing, but using that, I guess I could just say, like, gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they might, and you have to flip the coin as well. They might look exactly raunchy, and you think that it's the most horrible thing in the world, but guess what? That's the thing that actually saves you.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to understand yourself. You have to understand your gut instinct. You have to understand how to protect yourself and know what's going on in your own reality too.
Yeah.
To understand how to travel through the spiritual realm.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think we've covered a lot today in regards to just like a snippet of, like, the different things to feel, sense, and see with different type of energetic entities or beings. And it was awesome talking with you, and I'm sure we'll be doing more videos.
I can't wait. I really can't wait.
And so if you'd like to see more, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and also Neri's channel. I'll be putting it in the comments. And if you, and also clicking that little bell, so you'll never miss any other videos that I post or Neri posts. So if you have any questions, want to know more, just leave it in the comments and we'll get back to you. Don't forget to follow us on social media, and I will be posting that.
Hugs and kisses, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
If you'd like me to guide you through more meditations and spiritual teachings, please subscribe and don't miss a beat. Namaste.